Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's Dr. Tamara Beckford with the Dr. Tamara Beckford Show, and we have a fun show today. We're going to talk about leadership. Yes, all of you out there who've been wondering, should you go into leadership? Is there a leader within you? The answer is probably yes. And we're going to let you know what are some of the characteristics, especially for us physician leaders out there. There's a book out there for you. And we have the person who wrote that book right here. So before I spill all the beans on my author slash leader slash guest for today, let me just welcome you all. Dr. Tamara Beckford. Like, why are we here? Because this show, Dr. Tamara Beckford, get to highlight all of my amazing physician colleagues who are doing fantastic things inside and outside of clinical medicine. Now, we're not just boxed in, in behind those curtains. There's just so much more that's going on and that we're doing. And you get to highlight and get a front seat as to all that we're doing inside and outside of clinical medicine. Now, some of you guys, you're listening to this and you're like, I want to find out. I might not have time today, but I want to go back and watch or listen to this. No worries. You just have to go to the yourcaringdocs.com, select podcast. You will see Dr. Grace Terrell's beautiful face. Just click on it and you'll be able to listen to this replay of today's episode. Okay. Now, if you're a doctor and you're like, you know what, I'm doing great things, I want to let others know what I'm doing. Oh, welcome. Yes. So just go ahead and send me an email at drbeckford@yourcaringdocs.com. That's URCARINGDOCS.com to book. Now, keep in mind, there's so many wonderful docs out there. So we are booked out 3 months in advance. And it's because you guys are so fantastic. Yes. So it's nothing personal, right? We love all of you guys. Alrighty. So we're going to get this party started today. All right. So my wonderful doc today is a graduate from Duke University School of Medicine. She also did her residency in internal medicine at North Carolina Baptist Hospital, right? Now, she has done a myriad of things in leadership in the healthcare space. She's been the CEO of Cornerstone Healthcare for almost 20 years. She's been president and CEO of Envision Genomics, where she helped physicians and clinicians diagnose very rare diseases and medical enigmas, yes, through the integration of genomic data and integrate clinical care. That's just very specific and precise care of these rare issues that happens. And she's done all of this, and now she's CPO, right? Chief Product Officer of IKS Health, where she's designing and delivering the solutions that the healthcare delivery system needs. She's doing all of this and she's still practicing medicine. Yeah, she is still doing all of this and she's still working as an internal medicine doctor at Atrium Health in Wake Forest Baptist. So this wonderful doc does all of this and you're like, woo, wow, so much. But guess what? She's also an author. That's right. So she's done all of this and she's written this wonderful book that's called Reframing Contemporary Physician Leaders. So we started off as heroes. That's the name of this book. We're going to delve a little bit into this because all of us know that we're all trying to figure out, like, what are some good ways that we can be leaders? What are some of the leadership styles? What are some good and some great leadership styles, right? So all of this we'll find out today with the wonderful Dr. Grace Terrell. Yeah. Woo! Hello, Dr. Terrell. How are you today?
I'm fine. I'm sitting here in the IKS Health offices in Dallas, Texas. I live in North Carolina, but I'm here probably pretty close to where you are. I think you're a Texan.
Yes, and I'm in Houston.
And have been looking forward to talking with you and your listening guest all week. So thank you for having me.
Ooh, alrighty. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to really take some time out and talk to us. Alrighty, so we're going to move all the way towards IKS, which is what you're currently doing now. But we're going to go back to the beginning. When we think of those who go into medicine, there's usually a story behind it. So what is it that made you decide that you wanted to be a doctor? What was going on at the time?
Well, I was never one that thought about that the whole time I was growing up, like you hear a lot of people talk
Mm-hmm.
about. I actually was an English and religion major as an undergrad at UNC Chapel Hill,
Mm-hmm.
and decided my fourth year of college that I was interested in doing something that would allow me to use my brain, that would be a service to people, and
Mm-hmm.
that would allow me to really live a very full life. And I was inspired by many people, particularly my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and who were practicing general internal medicine physicians. At the time, they were just my boyfriend's parents. But you know, for for me, in that time when I was going through school, there were not that many female role models
Mm-hmm.
in medicine. I happened to be very fortunate that my mother-in-law was practicing medicine. I saw that you could do that. You could have a family. You could have a career. You could do some pretty dynamic things in life. So I made a decision to go back and get all those little sciencey things you had to have to take
Yes.
the MCATs and get into med school. And I got into Duke, and that's the story.
I love it. I love it. And it really, a lot of people when I ask that question, it really goes back to modeling what you're seeing, the idea that wow, I can do this. There's someone out here who looks like me, who, like for us, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
there are females out there that are doing this. Like, so now I'm not limited. And then they're here to bring us along and to let us know that yes, the world at this point is your oyster. You can go out and get this. And you can also be part of this wonderful profession, which is medicine. Alrighty, so now you decided to do internal medicine. There's so many other
Right.
facets. So what made you go into internal medicine versus like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna go to OB, OBGYN. It was then you decided internal medicine. So give me that part.
Well, internal medicine, from my point of view, was really looking comprehensively at patients and doing whole patient care. It was about looking deep at diagnoses, looking deep at who the patients were as individuals.
Mm-hmm.
A lot's changed in internal medicine since I was in medical school back in the 1980s. It became over time something that's much, at least in my practice, much more ambulatory focused. But at the
Mm-hmm.
time that I first started practicing, I was seeing patients in the hospital, I was going to the nursing home, I was doing house calls, I had an ambulatory practice, and it was about that being there for a patient over a long period of time. So
Mm-hmm.
not I know you're an emergency room physician and you're there where the action is, and you're seeing somebody in a sort of a very important moment of their life when they're suffering an emergency. I like the longitudinal approach. And so
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I've been very grateful through my career for all the patients that I've taken care of and still do. I just practice medicine a little bit now, just 1 week in a month, but of the patients that I have, many of them I've been taking care of for over 30 years.
Oh wow.
Last month, when I saw a couple of patients, my 101-year-old was not the oldest patient in my practice that showed up that week, and my 102-year-old was. So I've
Wow.
been, you
She
know,
got beat.
yeah, they were both there, right after one another. So I just feel very, very grateful for having
Yeah.
been part of their lives and many other people's lives for a long period of time.
Oh man. I mean, I've had some patients, in my ER. Well, of course, I see them briefly and they'll tell me, oh, Dr. Such and such, they've been my doctor for over 30 years. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
you got to contact them before you touch me. And it's like, okay, wow, but that's such a wonderful blessing to be able to watch someone progress. And not only that, it's the privilege
it is
that
a
they
privilege.
have,
Absolutely.
they've bestowed upon you and said that I am trusting you with my care. And patients like that usually are bringing other family members along.
That's right. That's right. It really is about the whole family and the caregivers. But
Mhm.
they're just two examples. I've got just a group of patients, probably at this point no more than about 150 or 200 that that have just been part of my life for a long period of time,
Mhm.
and and mine theirs. And it's just been a privilege to practice medicine that way.
I love it. I love it. Alrighty. So, you got into medicine and you're doing internal medicine and you're a part of so many of your patients' lives. Like you said, that you've been able to touch their lives from being inpatient doctor to their clinics to even going to their homes when you first started, doing home calls. But then you also incorporated leadership. Now, at what point did you say, you know what? I want to step into this leadership role. And how did you transition into a leadership role, being as a clinician?
Well, I was not intentional about that. When I first joined my mother-in-law and father-in-law's practice in 1993, there was some changes going on in our community where there was a group of doctors that were forming a multi-specialty group. I was nominated to be on the steering committee for that, and the journey from 1995 when we formed that group, which was called Cornerstone Healthcare, over the 20 years that group existed, prior to it being absorbed, like many other independent practices, into larger integrated healthcare delivery systems, was a personal journey for me. So I didn't know anything about business or leadership. I went back to what was then called the American College of Physician Executives, now called American Association for Physician Leadership, which was a way to, back in the day, it seemed very innovative because part of it was online. And this is the 1990s when, online meant you dialed in and it would doo 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 and all that type. But anyway, I was able to get a master's in medical management through Carnegie Mellon University and ACPE, and then was on the board of directors of that organization, and ultimately chosen to be its CEO. And so my leadership journey was to be the CEO of a company that grew and was doing some pretty innovative things for its time. It was one of the first patient-centered medical homes, one of the first electronic health record enabled medical groups in the country, did a lot of early stuff on quality and all that. And, it was a group of physicians and we were just figuring it out. So after it, we did some innovative things. We were very early in value-based care. We spun off a company called Chest that did that I led for a while. And what I learned in that leadership journey is that it takes a team. It's a lot of people together. And that the skill set that physicians have sometimes, in theory, if they retranslated them into the realm of leadership and looked through things with just a little bit of a different lens, can actually be quite good. But it is a transition because you're having to think not just about an individual patient in front of you, but about systems thinking and about, processes, about how to do innovation. And I've just been very privileged with all the companies that I've led or been part of, including IKS that I'm at now, to really work with both clinicians that are physicians and non-physicians on, let's think about getting this whole healthcare system better. Let's fix some broken things.
Absolutely. I love one thing that you mentioned, in that physicians do have the skills to take part in these leadership, just have to look through a different lens. Now, a lot of times when, us as physician, we go to medical school and we feel like we're locked in a box. Like I can only, like you say, think about just patient. And we have these additional skill set that we had to acquire in order to even graduate medical school, in order to even graduate residency, to really think, as you mentioned, in a system-based way. But we at times forget and we become very myopic in our view and think that we can only do this way. So what are some of the things that you would say to a physician out there who's thinking of transitioning into leadership, but then they're thinking, well, I'm only a doctor. I don't know, this might not be for me. I don't know how to think that way. What are some of the skill set that you see that physicians have that they're not noticing about themselves to make them great
so leaders? That's a great question. And I think that what I would say to somebody who says they're only a doctor is get over yourself, sweet pea. You are a
Love
doctor.
it. Tell them
And
again.
and you have been given a privilege of people inviting you into their lives to help and care and take care of them. But we're in a very broken healthcare system, and so for physicians in general, I think understanding that we have a particular lens that can allow us to understand that there are ways that patients can be taken care of better, and bringing that. I mean, the healthcare delivery system is just in great need of physician leadership throughout in every conversation. Now, how you get there and how you insert yourself into it is to learn and respect the others that are part of the healthcare delivery system, to say yes when there's responsibilities or opportunities that are come your way above and beyond your work seeing patients, to really get involved in thinking as a systems thinker about quality. And I would also say using our creative skills as opposed to just critical skills is a real crucial component of that movement in leadership, from the bedside to the healthcare delivery system. And by that, I mean that most of us, by the time we finish our training, are really good at critical skills. Most people that graduate college have been trained in this, which is, this is what's wrong with the system. But getting to the next level to say, let's really green screen this. Let's do whiteboard this. Let's think about what the system could be. And let's put on our latent creative skills. That's when you can take the passion and the soul of a physician and the brains and the training that they have, put that creative skill set in that. And there's just no better leaders once you get to that creative level, particularly in people that really know how to work well in teams.
I love it. I love it. First things first. If you're thinking you're just a physician, get over yourself, sweet pea. Number one.
That's right.
And let's start putting on our creative hat and coming up with some solutions. So now, what point did you notice that you're like, oh, I can pull all this together in a book? Because the book you have, not just, I think you have like maybe like over like 8 or so physician with different leadership styles.
Yes.
That you have like case studies on. So you're like, hey, listen, if you're this, you're that. So at what point did you notice, like, you know what, let me just pull all of this and write this wonderful book, because people out there need this.
Oh, well, thank you. So this is the third book that I've written, and I've got a fourth one coming out in a few months. It's more on gender issues. But my first book was, I think it was published around 2012 or something, and I was really thinking about how the world was changing and what that would mean for physicians as in the type of leadership that we would need to develop. And it was called MD 2.0. And in that book, it was my first attempt. It was an okay book. I then co-wrote a book with Bo Bobbitt on value-based care, which I've got some background in. And then the publisher of the first 2 books actually said, we've gone back and looked at that first book, and we just think it needs to be updated. It's got some really good messages in it. We don't think you'll have to do but about 30% changes in it. Well, of course, that was a total lie. I had to rewrite the whole thing.
100% change later.
Yeah, because it's 12 years later. I've got a really different background experience about healthcare. The world's different. I wrote it in the middle of COVID. I was thinking about leadership differently. But the other thing that I had from all my various experiences was I had really come in contact with just a lot of physicians that I've admired through the years that are leaders. So what I did in this book is I profiled 11 of them. Some of them are nationally known. Some of them are just people that I think are great leaders that are in the practice world, in the community that I practice in. I wanted it to be about them because I was able to, from those 11 people, to give examples of different types of leadership, whether it's servant leadership or, different types. and say, this is somebody that I know. So I interviewed every one of them. And then I would write up their story. So the stories were the stories that they told about themselves. And what I try to do in that is really show how they, in their own lives, whether they thought of themselves as a leader or not, were it's someone that I had known in my own life that was a physician leader. So that's the way I wrote it. And I'm going to do the same thing with my gender book coming out. And by the way, I'm going to solicit you again, and that I
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
actually write about you in that, about women who've done extraordinary things in their career that are physicians. And so after this podcast is over, I'm working today, but sometime maybe this week or next couple of days, I'm going to email you again and say, I do want you in my next book. As somebody that I have really seen do some very interesting things. I think it could be helpful with really think about things through that gender lens.
Absolutely. We are going to make it happen. We
Okay.
absolutely will be making it happen. Yes, I love it. And one of the things that I do like about that you're showing and highlighting in your current book that's out, the different types of leaderships, and because we all have different styles,
Right.
and also in your book, you really give we got where we are in a broken system. It didn't just happen.
Right.
There were different phases where there
That's
were
right.
could have been a little bit of interjections here and there, but it didn't occur, and so we are where we are now. And therefore we're coming up with ways and how and solutions, which we are soliciting all our young doctors, paging all our med students out there. Keep us in mind. We need you to help us fix the system. So don't just go
Absolutely.
and end up being a cog in the wheel. Let's, help us being creative in helping this. Now, there are a couple of different ways that physicians out there, we have physicians in leaderships, and then you've also been able to help with venture capitalism. I am like, Dr. Terrell, do you sleep? Number one. Then how did you get into that? And what are some of the points that you can give to anyone who's thinking about going into venture capitalism?
So with venture capital, we had I was recruited to
Mm-hmm.
go to Envision Genomics, which was a small startup company for which people were wanting to put some investment in it. So that's my relationship to venture capital. Is I think it's one source
Mm-hmm.
of investment needed for doing extraordinary things to change the healthcare delivery system. So a lot of physicians say ick when it comes to the money conversation. Oh, I don't want to think about it.
Or entrepreneurship. You're going to the
Yeah,
dark side.
yeah, all that. And whether you're talking about a not-for-profit healthcare delivery system, whether you're talking about sources of capital like private equity, or whether you're talking about companies that are on the independent medical groups, which are sort of organized as most of them anyway, as for-profit, either LLC corporations or C corporations. The
Mm-hmm.
truth is that all businesses are need several things. You need assets that consist
Mm-hmm.
of people,
Mm-hmm.
processes, technology, and capital. And capital
Absolutely.
is the money to basically take those people, processes, and technologies and create things that make a difference. And so you can be mission based, like we were
Mm-hmm.
at Envision Genomics, which was about how can we bring something to the healthcare delivery system for a group of people that often don't get the best care. But just wishing it to be so, you still have to have sources of capital. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the way to think about money is not that it's immoral or bad, that it's amoral. And what you actually need to create within our capitalistic society is regulatory control and ethical structures that allow you to do what needs to be done, which is to
Mm-hmm.
create really significant, important businesses that matter.
Absolutely. 100%. Money is amoral. The hands that uses it, that's where you think about it. And like we said,
Yeah.
if you have structures that are there in place to help. But I mean, the point of even entrepreneurship and businesses are there. It's a service, something needs something is there's a need there, someone is coming up with a way to provide and to have that need, and then the money is a thank you note. That's what we say
Yeah,
in that I'm in Entrepreneurship Business School. The money is a thank you note for the services rendered. Thank you. There it
that's
is.
right.
Alrighty, so you're doing all of these things, and I know that you're a very busy person, and I am going to respect your time. So I'm going to bring it back to what are you doing during your off time for self-care?
It's a great question. So I exercise every day of my life, just like I brush my teeth. It's almost never that I don't get in either a run or workout on the elliptical or weightlifting or some
Mhm.
other type of thing for at least 30 to 45 minutes. I'm a reader. I'm a
Mhm.
Duolingo junkie. I do like 5 languages. Right now, everything from Hindu and Chinese and French and Spanish to Klingon, just for fun. And
Klingon.
I do. I do gardening. I've got a
Mhm.
hydroponic gardening inside my home, and then we have a big house, and we've got a greenhouse and whatnot. And I'm a mom and a grandmother, so I have a precious little granddaughter, Gabby, that lives up in Boston, and so a lot of what I do is around my family.
Mhm.
My two daughters. One is an attorney in Boston. The youngest, Robin, is a medical student. She's a third year medical student that wants to be a pediatrician. And if you think about it, she will be a third generation female physician because my
Physician.
mother, yeah, because my mother-in-law was a doc, and I'm a doc, and she's a year out from being a doc. And so, we're
They just gave
family
me
people.
chills.
Yeah,
Just really thinking about it, from us not being allowed into medical school
right,
because we weren't, we didn't have the brains, and
right.
sorry, to now having a third generation. Wow.
Yeah, I'm so proud of both of my daughters. And so, my husband and I are very, very, very blessed with the family we have. So I self care with all I do some meditation.
Mhm.
I like music. I'm a podcast junkie. So, I'm contributing content right now, but
Mhm.
I like to listen to that. So, I care for myself. And you said something that a lot of people say to me, do you ever sleep? It's like, absolutely.
I
At
love
least
it.
7.5 hours a night. I rarely use an alarm clock. I just go to sleep. I get up. I get her done. So
Love it. You're done. Now the fact that you have a granddaughter, you understand that too from the Disney movies. Get her done.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
I love it. So now if we're thinking about for organizations and what do you think are some ways that an organization can incorporate self-care for their leaders and therefore it'll translate for self-care for their employees or those who
That
really
is
help?
a wonderful question. And I've been part of organizations, including IKS Health, where I am now, that
Mhm.
invest in their leaders. So
Mhm.
I told you I'm here in Dallas. We have been here all week long where the senior leadership got together on in an offsite with
Mhm.
to really get to know each other as people and
Mhm.
to really think through what our own sort of personal backgrounds and needs are as people
Mhm.
so that we can actually be a much stronger team together. So part of it is investing in leadership development. It's investing in giving people the time to be themselves. It's about investing in
Mhm.
respecting people and creating a culture of care and a culture in a community.
Mhm.
There are organizational efforts that are part of this organization and others that I've been involved with that are about things like having positive approaches to time
Mhm.
for health. Make sure there's
Yeah,
healthy food, that there's time for family time, that you celebrate the good things as a healthcare community together. So I think at the leadership level, self care is an example. It's also a way that you communicate and treat others. So that's uh,
absolutely.
that's the way I think about it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Alrighty. So my fun question of the day is, so Dr. Terrell, now I have to think about it too, because I usually have to take some things off of the plate. If you weren't a doctor, an author, if you weren't a gardener, all right, there we go.
Okay.
what what would you be? So I this is a creative, this is tapping into the creative part of you. What do you think you would be if you weren't a
You
doctor, author, or say a gardener?
I think I would be a teacher of some sort, probably a college professor,
Mm-hmm.
may perhaps an English literature professor. And I love to read. I love to interact with literature. I like teaching when I get the chance. And I think that the sort of intellectual academic life would be one that would have suited me, but that was
Mm-hmm.
not the choice I made in my life, and I'm just going forward with the choice I did, which has just been an absolute blast.
I love it. I love it. You're my third professor. So I have interviewed 156 people,
I
and
really
yes, yes. I mean, we have varied visions, and I love this question because it really taps into us. So you're my third professor there. So with that, there are a lot of people who are watching. I do want to give all those. We've had Joan Williams that says good afternoon. We've had some Facebook guests. We've had Terrence Morris that's also said good afternoon. So good afternoon to you. And then we have Dr. Ndidi Amaka Obadan, who also said good afternoon, doctor. So good afternoon to you too. Thank you all for joining us. Now, Dr. Terrell, there are a couple people who are listening, watching, and they're wondering, like, how can I get in contact with this wonderful doc, and where can I find her book? So let us know, where can we find you?
Sure. So you can get in touch with me at gterrell22 at gmail.com is my email. I am Grace T22 on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find that under Grace Terrell MD, I think. My book is available through the American Association of Physician Leadership or directly from Amazon, either in Kindle or in paperback. And I'd be happy to talk to any of you.
Love it, love it, love it. So, with that, I am going to let you go because I know that you are very busy, and I'm very honored that you've taken this time out to spend with us here on the Dr. Tamara Beckford Show. Like I said, for you guys out there, I know this was definitely for you who are thinking about leadership, or for our entrepreneurs in there, right? There is more. So, if anything that I got out of this is, if you're thinking, I'm only a doctor, rule number one, get over it, sweet pea, and then we will proceed to helping you. We will proceed to helping you along the way. Now, before we completely close out, Dr. Terrell, do you have any last minute advice or words for our listeners?
So what I would say, and this is to work in the passion that I have right now. So let me just give one little plug for my current company, IKS
Mhm.
Health. Okay, I am here as a result of my personal mission, which is to use my God-given talents, scars, failings, experiences, all my previous things, to really focus on my personal mission, which is to work to make our healthcare delivery system better. So
Mhm.
my advice is to find that place and space where you can do that, or to
Mhm.
find your own personal mission,
Mhm.
or be able to just define your own personal mission. What is your personal mission? If you do that, you can find happiness in medicine. You can have happiness in life, and that's what I'm doing. And I think it's just a good way of sort of approaching how to think about living.
I love it. Find that personal passion in there and be able to go towards it. And you'll always feel fulfilled because you're living. And I love it. You said that I'm using all of my talents and my scars and failures, everything that I've learned along the way to really help this mission that I have within me. So thank you so much. For those of you guys who are listening and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't get the whole story. That's okay. We have it available for you on our Your Caring Docs website. That's URCARINGDOCS.com. Select podcast. You're going to see Dr. Terrell's beautiful face. Just click listen here. If you do have an Apple device, please do not hesitate forget to leave us those wonderful 5-star reviews that we love. Absolutely. This will enable others to get be aware of our podcast, and we'll be able to get it to more listeners out there. And if you're a wonderful doctor who say, yes, I too am doing amazing things and I'd love to let others know, you can leave me a message or send me an email, I should say, at drbeckford@yourcaringdocs.com, and just let me know you want to book, and we will send you the link to book. Do keep in mind, we are booked out 3 months in advance, not because we are so hasidity or, but it's just like we have so many amazing doctors, and I want to highlight you all. So we are booked like every week. We have somebody out there to show you guys how amazing doctors are doing wonderful things inside and outside of clinical medicine. So with all of that, Dr. Terrell, thank you so much for stopping by the show. Thank you all who have been listening and watching for all of this time. We will see you guys next time, and we love you for listening and watching. Bye.
Bye bye.